This landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico. The rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO classified. UFO classified. No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Fantopia Friday. I am Erica Lukes, and I am beyond excited to be here tonight because tonight is going to be a very important show in the UFO research world. I am excited to have Fran Ridge on tonight, who is going to be talking about something that he has been working on along with Challen Holt, and that would be MADAR. We are going to also talk with him about the incredible contributions he has made in this field for the past few decades. He is incredible. I'm so excited to have him here. But first, I want to just thank all of my friends in New Mexico who came out last weekend to the New Mexico MUFON annual conference. I was fortunate enough to speak on the same stage as John Greenwald and Stanton Friedman, and it was an honor. I can't even describe it. My first show, my first big presentation. So thank you all for coming out. And I want to say also, I am incredibly glad that there were so many women in the audience. That just thrilled me beyond belief, because it's important not only to encourage a younger generation to come into this and to take this seriously, but also to encourage women to come in and study this as well. I will be speaking at the Starworks Symposium coming up in a couple weeks, so you can catch me there. I know I've got a lot of friends going down there. I will be speaking on my American Airlines case that we did here with my friend Jeff Cox, an incredibly important case, and I look forward to seeing you down in Laughlin, Nevada. Tonight, the person I am speaking with, to me, exemplifies courage and dedication. And I think there are very few people in the field of UFO research that are of the caliber of Fran Ridge. This is what Ted Rowe, the executive director of NARCAP and the founder and executive director of the International Association of UAP Researchers, said about Fran. Few have contributed more to UAP studies than Fran Ridge. An original member and the current official curator of NICAP, he's brought consistency, high standards, and credibility to UAP research. If you don't know about Fran and NICAP, look them up. Between archival historical work and new leading-edge research like the MADAR project, there's a lot of excellent information. Consider contributing to support their effort. It is money well spent, and I have to agree. Tonight, I want to tell you that you can go to NICAP and donate, and you can get a really cool cap. So I want you guys to go there and do that, and then take a picture of me in your NICAP hat. I need to get one too. It's so cool. But a little bit about Fran. Fran Ridge is an experienced and respected, one of the most respected people in the field. And he has been involved in the serious study of the UFO phenomena since 1960. He started out as the head of a 7-man NICAP subcommittee, the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena in Indiana in 1960, which was one of the rapid response teams used by the University of Colorado UFO project in '68. He was MUFON's state director and an FI for Center for UFO Studies in 1989. Ridge has investigated hundreds of cases, and his database lists over 4,000 entries for the regions covering Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. He operated and directed the MADAR project, which is UFO detection, from 1970 to 1995. As head of the Indiana group, he also was in charge of the Indiana's Rapid Deployment Team with 30 FIs. That's incredible. And he wrote a book in 1994, which I am looking at right now. I'm proud to have this in my collection, describing his efforts, called Regional Encounters, the FC Files, Statement of Position on UFOs. He is interested in astronomy and began Lunascan, which we'll be talking about tonight, but he also is a wonderful husband and has a wife at home, and they have beautiful daughters and grandchildren and sons, and he is just a wonderful contribution to this field. And I'm so privileged, Fran, to have you here tonight. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here too, but that was quite an introduction. It would not even be possible for me to do what I have done without all the help that I've gotten. I actually, I got involved with all my heroes, people that I had never spoken with, on a personal level, and got them involved in what I'm doing. And now they're part of my A team, and they have done a lot of work. I mean, I'm really thrilled to have them all on board, and we have accomplished a lot. But again, it's a we. And we hope to do that for many years, but we're thinking along the same lines as you. We've got to get the younger people involved.
And that is so important. And your A team consists of people like Barry Greenwood, who is the co-author of Clear Intent, Ray Fowler, and Mark Rodiger, the scientific director and president of the J. Allen Hynek Center, and he's working with UFO data. Bruce Maccabee. I mean, you have such tremendous people alongside you working with you. That's
right. There's not too many that we don't have on the A team that are really working on specific projects. I mean, there's a lot of people out there doing great work, but when it comes to specific things that are categorized, these are the people, and I'm thrilled to have them.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine some of the conversations and everything that you are all talking about, some of probably the pitfalls in the field and research that most of the public, we don't have a clue about. And a lot of the people that you have on the A team are pretty, they've gone kind of underground. They don't seek the limelight. They're just there to do good research and leave a legacy for all of us.
Yes, and if I have something that I need to know, I know who to go to, and I get quick response from them, and we piece together great reports and put them out there and place them on the NICAP site. One thing I want to tell everybody, though, when it comes to the NICAP site, the most important part of the NICAP site are the chronos. If you want to find a report, of course, you can always Google a report, information like a date and location, and comma NICAP, and you can probably bring it up that way. But if you know the year and you know the month, you go to that chrono, and you'll find that little paragraph on that particular case, and there's usually an active link that you click on, takes you to what we call the directory, and the directory has at the bottom of it has all the links to the documents and all the important information.
And it is a great site, and it's one that I've gone to for years because it's you find so few really credible places to go, when you want to expand your knowledge and educate yourself about this. And NICAP is one of those places, and the history of NICAP is legendary and incredible, and you became involved in that at a really, really young age. Can you tell us how you got involved?
Oh, wow. I was 18 years old, and I had read, several years before that, I had read Ruppelt's book, The Report on UFOs, in the 8th grade, and I got in trouble for reading it in class, but I couldn't put the book down. And then there was another publication that came out called UFOs Fact or Fiction. It was a paperback that hit the newsstands, and that got me interested, but it was several years before I really got serious about doing anything about it. And I'm not even sure what started it, that intently. But I had 4 gentlemen that I worked with, or were associated with, and the NICAP wanted, of course, older people in their teens, and they were a little reluctant to take us on because we were that young. But we got 3 advisors to give us help. One of them was Lewis Blevins, and boy, there's a story right there that we'll touch upon. But it's what led me to the Madar thing, and from the very beginning. Also had a man that was a photographer and had his own darkroom, and we had the mayor of the city. So that got us approved, and by November 17th, 1960, we were approved. And we were off and running. We were checking on newspaper clippings, calling people that, saw articles about us, and checking on reports. And it was like grabbing a bear by the tail from that point on.
Wow, and then that is so incredible, because the people that really were there when NICAP began, I mean, the caliber of people that were involved, I mean, it's jaw-dropping.
Yes. I was very fascinated with Major Kehoe, and he was a very brave, very intelligent man, and I'll never forget his words, "We're being observed." Those few words stuck in my mind from then on, and you know what? It's just as true now as it was then, but you won't always find people today that want to look at it that way. They've got some alternate theory, but the fact that we're being observed by somebody there's no doubt about that, I believe.
No, and I don't either. And I keep telling people on my show, and I did in New Mexico last weekend, that it isn't a matter of even belief, it's a matter of fact. And we have to put away bias, and we need to start really looking at all of the information, decades, of research that has been done. We can't deny this, and we need to actively engage this, and then kind of stand on the shoulders of what all of you have done and move forward in a positive direction.
Some people want the smoking gun before they'll step up and make that comment, that they probably have a gut feeling on anyway. But I think the evidence is so overwhelming. We've got so much data. There's over 3,000 airline cases, probably over 6,000 close encounters involving EM effects. Not a whole lot of photographs that you can really point to, but I think what we're dealing with is a phenomena that I want to say one step ahead of us, but it's probably bigger than one step. And they're not necessarily wanting to make it an indisputable fact, because they know what that would do. So we're always looking for more.
Well, exactly, and I have to say that this brings up a really interesting topic, and Ted Rowe and I speak about this quite frequently. We keep waiting for that smoking gun, and if we haven't had it by now, with the 1952 flap over Washington, D.C. and all of the things that have happened, and Phoenix Lights, all of these things, we're not going to, we've got to quit looking for that, because the smoking gun is in the data. And when you start to analyze the data, you see these patterns that emerge, as you know.
Well, if you look at it in the sense that we're supposed to know all this, then that's one thing. But if it's something that we're not supposed to know, it's something that someone's doing, it pertains more about what they're doing than what we think. Then you observe it in a different way. We always think we should know everything, and we naturally down here trying to prove this and prove that. But I think they're being very careful. I think that there's quite a bit of effort going into that. People now have the ability to grab a cell phone, take a picture of anything very quickly. And look at all the pictures of tornadoes and videos of tornadoes there are. So a lot of people say, well, if UFOs were real, we would have so many pictures and so many videos. Well, not necessarily. First of all, you'd have to have an object close enough. And if you look at the states, Brad Sparks brought that up. If you look at where the sightings are taking place and all the factors that would make it, you would think make it easy to get a picture of a UFO and get some evidence that way. There's a lot working against us there. But what we're going to try to do is improve the odds. We're going to try to have an early warning system, so we'll see what that does.
Oh, it's going to do a lot. And if the wow signal, which we're going to talk about, is any indication, this is big news. But you bring up a great point, and I often hear this too. Well, why don't people just take photos of it? And I know, first of all, it's hard to take a photograph at night, and most people are seeing something anomalous at night, and you get a picture, and it looks like a little teeny dot in the sky, and so you send your report in, and it's just a lights in the sky case that's dismissed. When sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say you get pictures of automobile accidents and plane crashes, but generally don't get them in the process of happening. So you've got more time to think about it, grab a camera, take a picture. But when it's something that's happening real quick, you're caught by surprise. And I've had it happen to me several times where I wished I had a camera, and that happens quite often.
It does. Absolutely. You never have things right. And I try, to have all of my stuff charged and ready to go, but something always just catches you off guard, and it's challenging. But I would love to know from you, what sort of experiences have you had when you've been out in the field and you've encountered something anomalous?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I feel like I do about the UFO subject. It's not the fact that I've investigated hundreds of cases and studied about 4,000 of them. I've been out in the field and on sky watches, and I've been out because of the fact that I had a hotline. When people would call, I could go out and I could sometimes see something. And I had some things happen to me that made me think more like there's more going on here. It's almost too coincidental. When we first started out, and we were, like I said, we were young, I remember getting a phone call one night, and Philip Studler called me, and he said that there was a UFO heading from northeast to southwest, and I was a few miles from him out in the country, and I had several neighbors, my mother, father, sister, brother. We all went out and were watching, and as this object came flying by, heading southeast, we heard a jet roar, and not too far behind it, a jet was coming after it. And then as it got into the southeast, or southwest, it banked, and the light from the moon reflected off of it, and it flashed real bright. And it tore off into the distance. And I was lucky enough to see something like that right after getting involved with an official UFO group. But it got more intense after that. I had things happen, and I'm trying to think which was the one that was. The one that was real interesting that I'll never forget. And we were out, people were reporting what they thought was a UFO. In fact, we had gotten a call, and I went out with binoculars, and I saw this object in the east that looked like a disc with rotating lights on it. And so I was, I couldn't figure out what it was. I never would have thought it was an airplane. But then we got word that from the control tower people that the FAA was putting a new lighting system on some of the jets. It's called see and be seen lighting. So this was going on for several nights, and of course continued on after that because they were using the system. But we thought, well, we'll go out to OP1, which was a spot 1 mile north of town. And a couple of my buddies, a couple of my investigators took separate cars. We went out there and went out on the hill, which is a cemetery, by the way. And it was perfectly clear, dark, about 8:30, about 8:15, something like that. And we saw coming out of the southwest, going northeast, this jumbo jet. Of course, we at that time we pretty well knew what it was because we were told what to look for, and it was on a approach pattern. It had dropped down and was headed for the airport, which is 15 miles away, and it was pretty interesting. But as we were leaving, now you got to remember this: there were no UFO sightings that night. There was nothing going on that was a UFO. This was an IFO. Anyway, we're out there, and we turn around and look, and in the west, an object is approaching us. And if you remember in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, how Roy Neary was out on the highway with those folks, and those things came flying down the highway with the lights all over them, it kind of looked like that. And had lights flashing all over it. And my first thought was, because I was kind of new in the area, I'd been transferred here as my third business transfer, and I was new to the area, and I thought, well, it must be some type of a emergency vehicle. It was that low, and as it approached us, it made a turn and headed right down the highway, still with the lights going on it. So we had CB radios, and we contacted the local police department and a couple other CBers about what was going on, what's some kind of emergency. And they said nothing. And so we kind of wrote it off, though, because there had been some type of a fire that night, and but nowhere near where we were. So we really didn't think too much of it. But the next day when we went out, we were trying to find out more about our bearings because we were going to use that spot more often. So we wanted to get the exact north, southeast lines, and get all that straight for the next time. And when we were checking, we looked in the direction where this object had come, and there was no road there.
Oh, isn't that interesting? And I've got to cut you off right there.
Cornfield.
Oh my Lord! And I'm so sorry because right when we get to the good part, which we're going to talk about when we get back, we've got to go to break. But we're going to take a quick break. And again, I'm so thrilled to have Fran Ridge here tonight, and we're going to be talking to my friend Challen Holt coming up pretty quick about a really cool new thing that is going to revolutionize the way we investigate this and research the UFO phenomena. We will be right back.
Stand by. This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes. The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified with Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
This year, make Pop Culture Tonight part of your Halloween tradition. Join me, Patrick Phillips, and my Monsters of Pop Culture for a special edition Monday, October 31st, right here on this station, featuring exclusive interviews with the Night King from Game of Thrones, actor Richard Brake, and actress Tanya Pinkins, who plays Miss Peabody on Fox's hit TV show Gotham. Pop Culture Tonight, frightfully entertaining. For more information, log on now to popculturetonight.com.
Now, broadcasting in digital HD radio.
What if maintaining a healthy weight was as simple as drinking a cup of coffee? With Valentis coffee, it's that easy. Harvested from the world's most pristine coffee farms and packed with the purest ingredients on earth, Valentis takes losing weight to a completely new level. At Valentis, we believe everyone deserves a chance to be healthy and fit. It's pure, natural, healthy, and delicious. Click the Valentis Healthiest Coffee banner on the KCOR Digital Radio Network website and take the Weight Loss Guarantee Challenge. Valenta's Coffee, simply the world's healthiest coffee.
Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about. At least, not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now.
When danger is imminent, will you be prepared? Now many mobile devices can bring you critical information from local sources you trust. With the unique sound and vibration, wireless emergency alerts keep you in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific. Jump onto the Celestial Highway and travel at the speed of light. Into hyperspace. Hyperspace, hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. She navigates you through the cosmic tides of mysticism into the world of covert technology, UFOs, mystical sciences, and the world of unforeseen forces.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Listen live, Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, for Hyperspace, the one show that blows the whistle off our government black ops projects. Hyperspace, hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Want to take a ride?
You're listening to
UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts!
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Welcome back, everybody, and happy Friday. I am Erica Lukes, and I'm always happy to be here, especially tonight, because this is such an important show. We've got Challen Holt coming up in the next little bit, and he and Fran are going to tell us about some groundbreaking work that they're doing that will really change the way we are dealing with this and researching the subject of the UFO phenomena. Fran Ridge is here with me now, and he's been sharing some of his sightings. And if you don't know who Fran is, you really need to learn about him and study NICAP and the importance of what NICAP has done. Fran he's brought high standards into the field, credibility to UAP research. He's an original member and the current official curator of NICAP. He is somebody that I feel so blessed to know, and I don't think that this is an accident that I know him. Please support NICAP. Go in and buy a ball cap, which I'm going to buy one too. So take a picture with your NICAP hat on and send it to me. Dang it. We need to get some good funds going to people that really, really are doing good work and deserve that. Fran, welcome back.
Yes. We got caught at the very end of that one, didn't we?
Yes, and you've got to continue because that was the best part.
Well, there's not a whole lot more after that, but again, the object turned and headed south. And the next day when we were checking out the area, we were, like I said, I was new in the area, so I wasn't familiar with roads at that cemetery, and there was no road there. So it came over very low over a cornfield. And believe me, no emergency vehicle would have even tried to traverse that area. So there's no question it was not an emergency vehicle. And it headed south and, out of the picture. But it's funny, I as much as I thought that was very interesting and wondering, how did anybody even know we were going to be there? This was not a time when sightings were going on. It was sort of a lull period. But later on, when these things started happening more often, I often thought there's somebody's trying to tell me something. But I've been involved in some of the most awesome sighting reports. Right during the 1973 wave, the worldwide wave of 73. Right, if you look at a graph, almost right at the peak of the wave, and this was about the time that the United States became concerned that the Soviet Union might intervene in the Arab-Israeli War, the Yom Kippur War, and U.S. forces, including the Strategic Air Command, Continental Air Defense Command, European Command, and the 6th Fleet were all put on DEFCON 3. So all this was happening in the background, and we didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to it, but that was probably the reason why the wave was going on. It was there's big things happening in the world. But right at this peak, on October 20th at 6:50 in the morning, this was a Saturday morning, the primary witness was a conductor on an L&N train that had an encounter with a UFO. Now, Mount Vernon is a little town 15 miles west of the city of Evansville. That's where I live. And they had passed through Mount Vernon and were headed east nearing the Lamont Crossing, which is about 2 miles west of the outskirts of Evansville. A nocturnal light incident had preceded this close encounter. Now, when they neared Caburn, which is 6 or 7 miles east of Mount Vernon, the conductor told the rear conductors by intercom that they had seen a real bright light behind them. When they got near St. Phillips, the rear conductor reported that there now was a train following them on the same track. And the railroad blocking system showed something approaching, and that's the lights on the track. As they approached a steep hill at Lamont Crossing, one of the diesel engines overheated and the train was immobilized. When the object behind the train backed away, the blocking system showed the object retreating. The diesel unit was now restarted and started right up, and the train, loaded down with coal, made it up the hill and on into Evansville. And I'll never forget that case, because there was a lot more that happened that I can't even tell you about there. I know the Air Force got involved with it, and but that's one that I was privileged to be involved in. I'll never forget the day it happened. It had happened at 6:50 that morning. It was a Saturday, and my wife called me at work, and she told me there was a man that wanted to talk to me, and I couldn't wait to get home at lunchtime and give him a call. Of course, I taped the conversation, but it's a day I'll never forget. But there's just been too many things in my life. Me being at the right place, the right time. I've been very blessed, and it's kind of funny. I always tell people that I ought to write a book called "Eating an Elephant," because what I do is I generally keep notes. I keep extensive notes, and of course I had 4,000 sightings that I researched for the Madar Project to give us sort of a background of what was going on in the adjoining states. And as I did, I was actually putting together bits and pieces, not really knowing it, that I could actually throw together, change the wording just a little bit, and pretty it up a little. And that's how I wrote Regional Encounters. And if I would have started out to write a book like that, I doubt if I would have gotten very far. It was just, I had everything I needed. All I had to do was just put it down and tie it together real nice. After that, I did several other things like that, too.
Well, is there a place that people that are listening tonight can get Regional Encounters?
Oh, yeah. In fact, it's free. You go to the NICAP site where it has books, and there's 10 or 12 books that you can download there, and they're in PDF file format. And, yeah, they can get that free.
That's incredible, but they probably don't have a copy sitting right in front of them. I just have to, say that.
Well, if they have a computer, they would probably want to get it free that way. But I also have them on a CD, but you'd have to put it in a computer anyway. So.
Oh,
I don't. So I had 1,000 copies printed, and when I wrote the book in 1992, and sold every one of them. Every one of them.
It's incredible. I feel blessed to have that on my shelf, and I go to it frequently. And I think that it's interesting to me to talk about or to see some of the nocturnal lights cases. And I want to ask you about that. Do you feel like I do that there are specific places where these nocturnal lights are seen continually?
Well, when you say nocturnal lights, those are seen just about everywhere. What that classification is an object at night that's beyond 500 feet. I think what you're referring to is like the Marfa lights.
Yes, exactly. Anomalous light phenomena. Yep.
Yeah, that would be a classification of a nocturnal light as well, but that one is a subclass, I would call it. There have been. If you go back in UFO history, some of the first ones that were seen were over Killeen Base in New Mexico, and that is absolutely fascinating because we look at those in terms of being probes. They would be seen very low, moving around along the ground, and they were always in areas where we were working on weapons, moving weapons, nuclear weapons, to all the way up to prime areas. And if you look at where they were seen, it tracked them everywhere they went. And then there's been other places where they've been seen quite often. Harley Rutledge dealt with those. I think you read Project Identification.
Yes.
Did you read that one?
Yep.
Yes.
That is incredible. And, for me, when I look at, the work of Robert Hastings or some of the other people that are studying this, specifically with regard to nuclear installations, I mean, they seem to be very consistent with the type of objects that are seen. And it seems to be these spheres of, this anomalous light phenomenon like you would see in Hessdalen and Marfa and Brown Mountain, or the Foo Fighters. I mean, do you think that these are all related?
I would think they would be, yeah. In fact, you brought up the Foo Fighters, and that was brought up to me the other day when I was trying to collect a bunch of those probe-type things, and they mentioned the Foo Fighters. I'd kind of forgotten about them. But, yeah, that's where it kind of started, and I think it's interesting you mentioned that that's the type that's seen around the missile bases a lot. In a way, it's good news, bad news. I mean, we'd like to see something more, closer, more structured, more detailed, but yet, when they're in the areas where they really could be scrutinized, what do they do? They're just merely lights that can't be, where you can see a whole lot of detail. And then again, we always think in terms of the objects themselves, and when you think of what we do in other countries when we're involved in exercises that are similar to this, we put boots on the ground. Instead of putting boots on the ground, they send these probes out, and the probes can get right up and personal, and they can find out anything they want. But I kind of think they can do the same thing from orbit. There's a lot that can be done from orbit. We're finding that out more all the time. But these small objects, they're fascinating, and no one's really that I know of has really done a real detail, at least in a collection of them.
And I know that there have been people are starting to really, Keith Chester, who actually is on the NICAP team. I mean, he did a great book about the Foo Fighters, and to me, this is interesting because I look at what happened with Delbert Newhouse and Tremonton, and they're the same types of objects, I feel, and they really, what are they? Why are they seen over top secret testing facilities, nuclear installations? Why are they in specific areas, that have mineral content, rare earth content? They're often seen over mines and different areas. And so what are the connections, and how do we begin to really look at the data and figure out what the connections are, and then, move forward to do some good field research studies?
It's funny you mentioned the mines. I guess, some of the documents that were uncovered when they first started getting UFO and CIA documents. One of them was about sightings over mines, and they were classified documents. And it turns out that one place where this mine was where most of the uranium was that they used to build the first bombs. There was sort of a shortage of uranium, and in the beginning, and objects were seen there, and then that uranium was sent to Oak Ridge and places like that where they processed it, and they had sightings there as well. And then when you got the bomb materials and the bombs constructed, then they went down to Killeen Basin and those places where we were discussing a while ago, and the little lights were usually there too. So it's very fascinating. The more we dig, the more we find.
I know, and it is fascinating. I think it's so important to just get everyone together that has researched this and just bounce ideas off of each other, like I know you do with your group and other people in the field. But I just, to me, I feel there's so many connections that we need to make, and we need to kind of pull away from the idea that there's going to be one single case that is going to prove to the world that this is a reality.
Right. We also used to think we had all the time in the world, but we're all getting older, and we're watching, I don't know how far apart they're occurring, but we're losing people. We turn around, we lose someone, and of course we appreciate what they've done, and we think, well, someday we won't be here. Who's going to take over? And when they do, what kind of attitude they're going to have? They might be interested, but are they going to have the wrong attitude? They're going to be going into without being very conservative, and the most important thing is where they're going to go. That's why we're trying so hard to make the information available and credible, and so that people will not only know where to go, but find it as easily as possible, so they don't have to dig. If some of them had to dig for the kind of information we had, it wouldn't happen. Other people who have had the time and the expertise have done it, and we just continue to do that. We continue to try to make the record better as we go.
And I can just say, when I look at the work of, you, Barry, Paul Dean has been incredible. There are so many people that contribute and sacrifice, like you have for decades, not only time away from the family, but make great monetary, the sacrifices, and then also you get the ridicule factor, and you have to deal with a lot to do what you do, and it's commendable. And for me, coming into this, I want to do what I can to carry everyone's work forward, to get a good understanding of it, and then to present that to a younger generation so they understand the gravity of what you've all done.
I remember at a time when the ridicule factor was very high, and we were the type of people were very rare. There just wasn't that many people interested. So the ridicule factor was very high, and the newspaper accounts and the radio and TV interviews were all very negative. And now it's kind of turned around. My biggest concern is not so much about a ridicule factor; it's interest. You could be talking about something like this instead of someone stopping by you to hear what you've got to say. They just walk on by. And that kind of bothers me more than the fact that, someone might ridicule it. They just don't seem to be as interested.
Well, that's going to change.
I think it will. Well, the most of us that are interested, it doesn't change any of that. We keep listening and keep looking and keep reading, and we're hooked on this. But it's the ones that are so involved with everything else that they don't really have time to give it the effort it needs, and they just have other things on their mind. It's a complicated world we're living in.
It is a very complicated world, but I think also we need to do our part, especially here in the States, to give investigators or people that are interested good information, and to get people out in the field researching, because we can sit behind our computers and investigate, case after case and close it, but we're not really making a great contribution. And we need to figure out how we go from we need to look at the data. We need to turn to people like you to be our mentors, and we need to go forward. And I believe that it's imperative that we really address this now.
I think you're right. I just wish the interest level was as high as it was in the 80s. When I was state director, I worked with 150 people, training them. And I always had around 30 field investigators covering the 92 counties, and we had something going on all the time. So for about 10 or 12 years, I was very busy. And UFOs were well in the news, not any big flaps. The big flap was 1973, of course. And we always waited for and hoped for another year like that. But it never happened. But we still had what we call the mini flaps that kept us going. But I'd like to see that happen again to stir up the interest. But the only bad thing about that is we always want to be prepared for the next flap, and it seems like you're never really prepared. Only thing you can do is just do the best you can.
Exactly. And I think for me, as I've been investigating this or seen things, if there was a big flap, it seems like people aren't paying attention, and we're so into what's happening in our own area, our own state, that we're not looking at the bigger picture, and that, wow, the same object is being seen over in Colorado or in New Mexico. And so we've lost that sense of looking at the bigger picture. And so perhaps we're missing some great flaps. I think Peter Davenport always talks about the fact that these orange orbs, fireballs, are increasing in their sightings, and I believe they are as well. So maybe we're just missing it.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Look at the drones we're putting up.
Yes, indeed. And they're quite exciting.
When you talk about sighting waves and sighting flaps, you got a lot of noise and a lot less signal. So the people see all the noise and they don't appreciate the fact that, we automatically throw out 90%, always did, as IFOs. It's the UFOs that we're concerned about. So the noisier it gets, people get to the point where they get complacent and they just switch the dial, change the channels or whatever. But
and that's too bad, because to me, I don't think there's a day that goes by that I don't go sit outside and just look at the sky and look at different objects, IFOs, and try to train myself to become a better observer. And I love this. I love not only learning about unidentified objects, but then learning about the natural world and learning about the universe. And so it's such a great education for me that I hope that people get excited about this and want to know, because this is, I believe, with all the things that are taking place in the world, it's a very critical time.
It's a very dangerous time. Very dangerous. But that doesn't mean what would happen would be really so obvious. But I think regardless of whether it's overt or covert, there'll be things going on, and that's where I think we might just have a little bit of an edge. We'll get into that a little later. But I did want to say this, though, watching the skies and stuff, I got to the point after all this investigation and research, it was pretty intense for a long time, that after I wrote the book, I thought, I really need a break from this. And so I got a bunch of guys together, and we put some money together when we started the LunaScan project, and that turned into a thing all by itself. But right after that was when I got introduced to the internet and emails and the NICAP site, and it just took off because there was just no way of getting away from the UFO subject. There was just no way. In fact, that's when I met Dan Wilson and Gene Waskiewicz. And we started looking at Project Blue Book documents and putting the directories together and collecting all day. And after that, it was just like boy, there's just no way to put this down. And we started creating chronologies, expanding on the chronologies, making new chronologies, and it really hasn't stopped. We're still doing it.
Oh, that is so incredible. And the Blue Book stuff, I mean, that is just intense. We had some interesting Blue Book cases here in Utah too, way back in the day, and I love looking at the Blue Book cases, and I know that Barry Greenwood's doing some interesting stuff with Blue Book documents now, so it'll be fun to see how that progresses. But I want to tell everyone we're getting ready to take a break, and then we're going to bring in Challen Holt here to talk about the new project. But I want to say, please go visit NICAP and donate and get a cap. And if you are going to spend money, I really have to tell you it is important to do that and donate to an organization like NICAP, because they have been doing this for such a long time, and they've got great things in the works, and they will really contribute and show you what they have contributed on their website. So with that in mind, I would like to say that I'm happy to have you here. Next week, I'm interviewing Jim Mars, and then the following week, Robert Powell will be here, who has been instrumental in some of my cases, and also Dr. Richard Haynes will be here, so stay tuned for that. We're going to be right back, and we've got a big announcement for you. So stick around. The best is yet to come.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at UFOclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified. UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.
Now, broadcasting in digital HD radio.
The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico. The rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Welcome back, everybody. I'd like to thank all of my friends for listening all over the world and seeing all of my friends, Wayne and Safety, and, everybody in the chat room. You guys are with me every week, and you're spreading the word. You're telling people about the show, and I really appreciate that, because I want to bring you people like Fran Ridge and Dr. Richard Haynes and Ted Rowe, people that can really give us good information about decades worth of research. This is important for all of us moving forward. My guests tonight are Fran Ridge from NICAP, who he's an original member. He is the current official curator of NICAP, and he is a brilliant investigator, but also has been working on something for quite some time that is going to really revolutionize the way we collect data. This is groundbreaking. We are also joined by Challen Holt, who is the Director of Engineering for Madar, IT Specialist for NICAP. He is the Executive Director of KYDS UFO Research Center and the former state director and STAR team member of field investigator of MUFON, and it's the former state section director. And Challen's also a musician. I just have to throw that in there. But he's become a friend of mine and somebody whom I really respect, and is a younger generation who will lead us into really grabbing a hold of what's taking place and carrying the research forward. So I'm thrilled to have both of you here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Erica. Great introduction.
Well, anytime. But I want to talk a little bit about MADAR and the inception of MADAR. Fran, how did this first come about?
Well, as I was stating in the last hour, none of this, I don't think, happens by accident, and it sure is one heck of a coincidence if it does. But when I started the NICAP group back in 1960, one of our advisors was Louis Blevins, and he worked for Universal Scientific Company. And get this, one of the things he worked on was Tesla coils. And I needed some help on a Geiger counter that I was building. And when I consulted with him, I found out that he had actually worked on Project Saucer. And of course, the code name was compromised. It was actually Project Sign. And he knew, and we later became aware that there was a sighting about the same time that Kenneth Arnold had his famous sighting. And about the same time, some prospector out there, his compass needle was moving as he was watching this object. And, of course, the Air Force, in their secret Project Sign report, stated that it would take 1 billion ampere turns at 1 kilometer to produce that effect. And, of course, that's not the way it works, but it showed there was a tremendous amount of power there. So Blevins suggested, he says, why don't you try to build an alarm system so that you'll get some kind of an early warning? And he told me how to design this UFO detector. But of course, at that time, it was based on a compass needle. And if you put little square or rectangular vanes on top of each end of the compass needle, it was balanced. And then you had like little doorways set up where the light would come through the doorways, and these little panels would shut off the light. And so at north, you would not get anything on the photocell. The very instant that the compass moved, it let the light through, and you'd set off an alarm. And that's all it was. It was a more complicated version of the Cartwright saucer detector. But we didn't realize we thought that it was going to be too sensitive. And, of course, at that time, it wasn't called MADAR, and all it did was set off an alarm. That's all it did. But then there were some sightings in 1970 that occurred about the same time that the device started to go off. The first incident that I investigated in 1970 was late in the year, so it wasn't a big banner year. There were 3 witnesses. This was August the 30th, 1970, and occurred east of Vincennes, Indiana, in a housing subdivision about 11 a.m. The family was in the process of packing for a trip. The man was interrupted by his daughter, age 7, who saw a metallic disc in the east-northeast hovering over Wheatland Road and reported it to her parents. He then went outside and saw the object as well and ran into the house to get his 7x50 binoculars. When he emerged, the object was much closer. It was now about a quarter of a mile away, described as a garbage can lid with a piece of watermelon on top and about 30 feet in diameter. This man told us that somebody else should have seen it. It was that low. Observed for a minute and a half, the object left in a swooping dive to the north-northeast. Now, a week later, we never thought any more about it, but the UFO detector went off. And at that time, I thought, well, this is no correlation because it happened a whole week difference. And there were 2 other times within a few weeks that the detector had gone off again. We thought the compass needle was just too sensitive. But turns out, if something like that happened today, and we had a flying saucer sighting within a week of a MADAR, it would mean a lot more than it did then, because we just didn't realize at that time that even though the compass needle was sensitive, something was going on. So it got to the point where we were, getting other indications with MADAR, but the most important one, to my mind, was in 1977. We had 7 incidents in that 1 year, which is about 30% of all the detections we had with the first MADAR. And they started in July. The first one, if I can find my notes here, the first one was right around the 9th, I believe, and the alarm went off, and crawled out of bed. It was a siren-type alarm, and I went downstairs to check it out, and I switched off the alarm switch so that wouldn't be bothering me, and let the tapes run out in about 45 minutes, and then replaced the tapes, recycled the equipment, and went back to bed. But always before I went back to bed, I'd always check with the police department and see if anybody was reporting anything. And the report always came back that nobody said anything, nobody's called in from a patrol car or anything like that. And this went on for several days in July of 1977. And then, if I can find the best one here, the most important one occurred on August the 15th.
And that was profound, because this had something to do with SETI. And my goodness, this is something that is historical.
It's very historical, and I think it's going to start a lot of new thinking once we can get someone who will look at it, because it took us 30 years before we even actually found out. That works in our favor, because we weren't really looking at a lot of data. At that time, we were looking at UFO sighting reports. Every once in a while, we would look at maybe earthquakes or something like that. And I never thought of anything like that. Thinking of checking with SETI to see if they checked, because it seems like they never get anything, if you remember, right?
You're not kidding about that one.
But, 1977 started out kind of weird anyway. And on October 7th, which was, of course, after the MADAR incident, there were 9 dish-shaped objects circling a Soviet naval submarine tender, and the radio, electronics, and onboard equipment went disrupted. And it was just that type of a year. And like I was telling you a while ago, it was July the 10th was MADAR 9. I was thinking of the number 9. But that was July the 10th. And then several days later, we had another incident that was on the 12th at 1:48, always in the wee hours. That's what always got me, the wee hours. This was MADAR event number 10. And then 2 hours later, same day, same night, at 4:35 a.m., I'm sorry, I was awakened again by the siren, indicating another anomaly was occurring. And this was 2 hours and 47 minutes since the first one had occurred. This time it was a 5-pulse, 53-second disturbance. The radiation was a normal 16 counts per minute. I did everything I was trained to do, and then once again stumbled back to bed, but it wasn't over. And I don't know why, but this time I didn't record the time. I should have, because sometime within an hour, channel like this, the facility smoke alarm started beeping. Not screaming, but beeping. There was no smoke or noticeable fumes. This beeping signal indicated that the smoke alarm was not getting enough power, telling me the batteries were low. Now later, when the batteries were checked and they were in perfect order and not replaced until 6 months later. So something had caused the voltage to drop for a very short time. Whatever had caused it was an anomaly in itself, because there was nothing wrong with the unit or the batteries. So that was one particular morning that was very unique. And then 3 days later, on the 15th, this is Madar 12, it's July the 15th. This time at 10:06 p.m., Madar logged another event. This was a 4-pulse, 4-second disturbance, radiation 13 counts per minute. Again, it seemed as if it was all a waste of time and there were no UFO reports. But then, a few days later, on a routine visit to the police department, as part of my local PR work, the dispatcher, Officer Kermit Steele, had advised me that they'd picked up transmissions on the police radio from 2 locations. This had happened right after I called him on the 12th. He didn't think it was that important, I guess. So at approximately 2:10 a.m., citizens had been reporting UFOs to police at Mount Vernon, Illinois, 60 miles to the northwest. And reports were also coming from Mayfield, Kentucky, 85 miles to the southwest. This is too much of a coincidence. But again, I really didn't think too much about it at the time. So there were actually two more events. Madar event 13 was on July the 26th. Again, nothing was seen. And then on August the 1st, Madar 14, another event where nothing was seen. But on Madar 15, that was August the 15th, that was the final one for the year, but it was an 18-pulse, 3-minute and 29-second disturbance. And Madar logged the best and longest disturbance so far. And the background radiation reading was 30 counts per minute, 100% increase. And for the record, in 1977, this was a significant reading. So at that time, we didn't know it. Of course, when I wrote the book, this is all in the book, but we didn't know until 30 years later what had actually happened at the exact same time. 310 miles away to the northeast at Delaware, Ohio, Jerry Eman was working on the SETI project. I guess everybody's familiar with that. The Big Ear telescope at Ohio State University.
Yes.
He was startled to see something on the printout. The signal bore expected hallmarks of potential non-terrestrial and non-solar origin. It lasted for the full 72-second duration that the Big Ear observed it, but has not been detected again. Amazed at how closely the signal matched the expected signature of an interstellar signal in the antenna used, even circled the signal on the computer printout and wrote the comment, "Wow," on its side. This comment became the name of the famous signal, the WOW signal. So 30 years later, someone tells me, "Francis, do you realize that happened at about the same time that your Madar 15 picked up something?" And that's when we started checking. And it wasn't just close. It was right on the money. It happened at the exact same time. So what we have is something happened here that was electromagnetic in nature. The radiation doubled, and 310 miles away, said he was picking up signals. Now, if that's not strange, I don't know what is.
How did you feel when you heard about that 30 years later?
Well, I was a little afraid. I was a little afraid that it was an error because this sounded too good to be true, you know. But the more I dug into it, the more research I did, it became even more interesting because that was the year that they were working on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and they were in the final production stage. And I'm thinking, gosh, if somebody had boots on the ground, if they had these little probes looking around, they would have known all the things going on in the world, and they probably would have known that kind of a movie was coming out, and the people are interested in this type of stuff, you know. That's the first thing that entered my mind. And, of course, Jimmy Carter was president, and he was trying to get NASA to reinvestigate the Air Force. And it wasn't a big UFO year, but people were interested in space, wanted to see movies about space. And this was like maybe an attempt, maybe some type of an attempt to communicate. And I just wanted to get Jerry Eamon's feeling about it. So I tried to contact him in 2010 when I found out about this, and he wouldn't talk to me. So I figured, well, he must have checked the internet and found out that Fran Ridge is tied with UFO somewhere or another, and
isn't that?
I don't think I want to get involved.
Well, he will be wanting to get involved because this is such big. I mean, this is huge, and I think it is sad, and I'm sure you know all too well that scrutiny, that I mean, just the bias that you see in the mainstream scientific community, and that's unfortunate because we really are faced with. This is happening, and I think that sooner or later all of these people are going to realize that, and then they'll jump on the bandwagon.
Well, I think the people would love to know about these type of things, but it's hard to get any attention drawn to it, and it's sort of like if you approach somebody about it, it's like, what are they trying to do? If they approach you and find out, then it's a lot different. Then they go, look what I found, but. Because this person didn't come to me clamoring to me, trying to tell me this fantastic story. But
well, I think this is a fantastic story. I mean, you told me this a couple weeks ago, and I think my heart skipped a beat because this was so important. And I want to tell all of you that are listening, if you go to NICAP.org, you can actually, there's a story on here about the WOW signal and what happened with Fran and kind of going through the whole process of this. So definitely go to that and learn the history and share that. This is important.
I think what we're about to do with of course this will be another topic on another show, but with this Paracelsus C that we discovered on the backside of the moon with the Lunascan project, if the report and analysis comes back as good as we think it will, and we get the attention of people like Paul Davies from LRO, once they look at that and accept that, then I'm going to bring up the WOW signal, because up until this point, if I brought it up, they wouldn't even want to talk to me.
Well, they're going to. I have no doubt. They will. And the stuff that you have accomplished with all of this and Lunascan and everything, it's mind-boggling to me. And I want people to understand the gravity of your work, and now with all of this great stuff that's happening that we're going to talk about now. We're getting ready to go to break, but I want to bring Challen in and talk about what you are doing to really take MADAR to the next level and take research to the next level. You're going to make some groundbreaking changes.
Hopefully.
You are. You already have. You've already contributed so much. But Challen, I mean, how excited are you to be a part of this?
Oh, it's an extreme excitement for me, Erica. Being as young as I am in the UFO field, to be able to get in on a ground floor of this new product has just been extremely exciting. As you well know, I've been telling you for weeks. I haven't slept very much since I started this project. That's how exciting it really is.
Well, I mean, it's not. I mean, but you've been. I mean, every day it's like you're working 12 hours a day on this project, and to hear how excited you and Fran are about all of this, and to know that Fran's been working on it for decades, right. And it's now finally coming, it's happening. And now you've got something where you can send that out into the field, and it will really, I'm so impressed, and I can't wait to talk about it because we've got 3 minutes to break. But Fran, do you think that this is one of the most pivotal moments of your life?
I believe it is. I've, like I said many times, nothing happens by accident. And it was funny, too, because I started the MADAR 2 project in 2014 after 22 years with MADAR 1 from 70 to 1992. And, it was going fairly good to have several years of it. And then along comes Challen, and I'm getting ready to move, so I thought I would transfer the MADAR 2 over to Lugo. And it just happened to happen, and I don't believe by accident, but Challen had this one idea about how we could make this a lot simpler and a lot better. And I'm telling you, within a few days, we had some great ideas pop in, and we've not really slept very well since then.
I know. I've been hearing the progress reports, and I know both of you have been bouncing off the walls, and Challen's just been a trooper and working on this day and night, and I'm impressed with this, but I'm also grateful to know that, you know, I am watching you both really making a huge contribution. And we're going to go to break here pretty quick, but I just want to say, how can people help you and contribute? What can we do to donate money and to help your research?
Well, that pretty well said it. I mean, we could do a lot quicker if we had more money, but right now at this point, once we get it to where we want it to be, and it's almost there, we can put units out and manufacture them, as needed, but we really can't do it like we'd like to at that pace. But we've come a long way. We're in just a matter of a few months. We've really come a long way.
You've come a long way. We're going to talk about that when we get back from our last break for the evening. I am Erica Lukes here with Fran Ridge and Challen Holt, and this half hour coming up is going to blow your mind, so stick around and make sure you find me on UFO Classified on Facebook, UFOclassified.com. The best is yet to come, so we'll see you on the other side of the break.
Stand by. This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes. Erica Lukes. The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified. UFO Classified with Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
Three Guys, No Ties.
I was at Chick-fil-A the other day, and there was a big black guy that was at Chick-fil-A, and he ordered an Oreo milkshake. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's really cool. And I was like, where is this going? And so this guy is waiting for his Oreo milkshake, and they finally call out his name, and he had given them the name Mr. President. I do not want to professional, so they will not even...
Three Guys, No Ties, Wednesday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific, right here on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, we take the KCOR Digital Radio Network off the grid and go deep inside the paranormal vault. Jump on the elevator and come take the ride down the rabbit hole of reality with BK Mojave and The Watcher as they unlock the vault and dust off some of their classified paranormal case files even the government doesn't know about. The Paranormal Vault, Mondays at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. This is the one show our secret government fears will speak the truth.
Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about, at least not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now.
Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific. Jump onto the Celestial Highway and travel at the speed of light. Into hyperspace. Hyperspace. Hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. She navigates you through the cosmic tides of mysticism into the world of covert technology, UFOs, mystical sciences, and the world of unforeseen forces.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Listen live, Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, for Hyperspace, the one show that blows the whistle off our government black ops projects. Hyperspace, hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris Blue Raven. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Want to take a ride? Take a ride. Take a ride.
This is the world-famous KCOR.
That's the only station I listen to.
You're listening to UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts!
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
Welcome back, everybody. And I told you the best was yet to come, and that's happening right now because we're going to talk about the MADAR, the multiple anomaly detection and automated recording, but they have taken it, Challen and Fran have taken it to the next level. We're going to talk about that right now. So, Challen, welcome back. I want to just say that he is the Director of Engineering for MADAR and an IT specialist for NICAP, among many other things. He's just a cool guy. But let's talk about this. Let's pick it up where we left off so we can tell people what you are doing.
Okay.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, take it away, Fran.
Well, I was just going to say the whole idea of MADAR was to act as an early warning system for magnetic and electromagnetic anomalies and an early warning or an early visual anomalistic target acquisition. So the whole idea was instead of just waiting for something to happen or somebody to call you, if a piece of equipment said that something was anomalistic, then you could go out and look. It gives you a much better chance. And then, of course, at the same time, when you do go out, a team would it'd be best that they would have other equipment with them, like binoculars, cameras, strobe lights, whatever, so that they could do some gathering of information by hand. So that was the whole idea for MADAR from the very beginning. But that was like one MADAR unit located at Mount Vernon, Indiana, and nobody else had one. And now we've got an idea that can change all of that and not only give you an early warning, but give us data. It'll accumulate data all the time. Challen, you can kind of better explain how the thing works than I can, except that it right now it's a basic sensor. And it's a prototype right now, and the way that it's built, Challen can adjust the software constantly without changing the hardware. So I'll leave it with you on that.
Yeah, with that note, Fran, I'll just say that's the beauty of this device is every time you plug it in, it calls home and says, "Hey, is there a new software version available? And if there is, I want it." And it'll download it and install it for you automatically. So it's constantly being able to update itself with the latest and greatest software. And as we add more devices to the HRS-1 in the future, which one of those devices is something that we already use now with the MADAR-2, and that is radiation detection, so that it can work in conjunction with the electromagnetic field anomalies. It will detect as well any radiation that at levels that may be spiking at that same time as well. So that we'll be collecting data on those two fronts. And another iteration of the hardware in the future too will also include barometric pressure sensing, maybe even ties into if you already have a weather station. We're looking to tie that in through a back-end API. There's going to be so many different things we're going to be able to do with this one little device. But in its current state, Erica, in which we shipped you out a device, I think you got it yesterday.
Yes, I did.
In the current state of these prototypes, they are in 100% working order. They are collecting data and spitting it back to the servers every 500 milliseconds. We'll get a reading from that device, and it goes into a database, and we're just collecting tons and tons of data.
I am so excited for you both. This is incredible. Wow. How do both of you feel right now? I mean, now that this is your big moment.
Well, I told Fran the other day, I said, this radio show has put me a little under the gun because we wanted to be able to have these prototypes to you. And so I've been working nonstop to get it done, at least to be able to get it to a phase in which I feel comfortable enough that I could ship it and know that every time you plug it in, I can still update it. So with that being said, I told Fran, I was like, I'm probably going to take a day or two off, and just not do anything, and maybe catch up on some sleep or something. But I already know, me myself, I will not be doing that. Although there's so much more work to be done, and given the fact too that we are a small team, right now it's just me and Fran. So when you do see that donations appreciated button out there, it's really appreciated for both of us for the time that we're putting in, because we don't have, like many other organizations that are out there just, spitting out some names. I think UFO Data, for one, they have a team of scientists and folks that are just, chomping at the bit to be doing something like this. And we're just really, really blessed to have put together this idea in a short amount of time, and are dedicating all of our time at this point so that we can be putting these devices out in the field and collecting this data. And
your resources. And that's important. I mean, you have spent quite a bit of your own money to do this, and that is it's just beyond commendable. I've never seen two people work so hard on something. And Fran, I want to tell you that Rich Vitello called in to Tina, my producer, to say that he was so proud of you and he was listening. And so,
hey, Rich.
Yeah, you've
Rich
got
is
your.
great.
He is, and I've got to have him on the show. But it's so nice that you have your people here, and they're proud of you, and you're making such a great contribution. And I can't tell you how privileged I am to have this in my here, so I can be a part of this.
Well, let me give you a little explanation
team in the
here.
world.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Fran. I was going to get this back to the listeners as quickly as possible. I know we have a short amount of time. What our system is going to be doing, what the HRS-1 is initially designed for, is to collect data based upon electromagnetic field anomalies. Eventually, which at this current time right now, it's still in the prototype phase, so we're not exactly sending out sirens and the phones are not ringing every time we get something that's going on, but eventually that will happen. Once you get the device, you register the device, it's going to be completely up to you how you want to receive alerts. If you want to receive alert via a text message or a push notification on your cell phone, or if you just want to get an email every time that something happens, you'll be able to get all three of those either at one time or just be able to select it at your will. What would you like to have? One of the things that Fran would really like to see happen, and I haven't gotten around to programming it into the software just yet, being that there's a server-side software and there's also software on the device. I'm only one guy and I'm doing my best to get it all done here. But what we would like to be able to see in the future, what Fran brought to my attention and what we are working on, is a map. Now, I shot into the chat room there for your exclusive chat room folks a link to our Madar Network map system right now, so you can see what's going on live. It literally is seeing exactly what our devices is spitting out to the database live. Now, that's something that has never happened. We've never had a UFO detection device that I can think of that will give you live, real-time data as it's happening.
No, never.
Exactly.
And that is what Fran really stipulated to me, that once we put Madar 2 online, which was just a few months ago, he was like, if we could just do that, if we can make that happen. And I told him not to worry about it. I was going to make it happen. Now, have I lost a lot of sleep in doing that? Yes, I have. But it's definitely been worth it. And I think that once people catch on to what this device can do, eventually, when we have, say, I'm just going to spit a number out there. Say we have 1,000 devices across the U.S., and we start getting alerts. You'll be able to physically see on this map in real time these dots turning from green to red as this anomaly moves across the map of the United States. It will be in real time.
And that is, what does that mean for the people on the ground? That means people can look at that and get out there with their cameras and get out there with their infrared camcorders and collect data. And I mean, this is huge. This is huge.
Exactly.
Plus, we want to put these in some areas where we know things are happening. And for instance, North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, where the missile bases are, where Peter Davenport tells us there are sightings coming from those areas. So I'm sure we have people there. We just got to get devices there.
Absolutely. And I've told you before that since I live so close to one of the world's most mysterious biological and chemical weapons testing facilities, that I know we're going to get some good stuff out here in Utah too.
Yes.
And this is great.
Something just entered my mind too, and there's, like Channel will tell you, there's so many things going on, it's hard to keep them all corralled in our brains. But for instance, if there was a sighting wave somewhere, we could actually have, if we had the funds, we could have, say, 8 or 10 of these on reserve that we could ship to that area and put them in place for a sighting, just, on a temporary basis. So there's a lot of things we could do.
And I have to say that out of any other, I mean, there's been lots of talk of things, prototypes that we've heard about that are coming out, but we haven't seen anything come out. Right. Especially, I mean, you guys have done this really quickly with Challen coming on board, and this is big. It's out in the field. It is collecting data, and now we can mobilize the troops and get people out there. So this is a big breakthrough. Congratulations, both of you.
Well,
thanks,
you.
Erica.
I will say this. A few years ago, when I made our 2 running again, one of the things I put in was a Geiger counter, which is hooked to the radiation network, and you can look on a map and see the readings. And but the initial cost of putting a Geiger, you had to buy the Geiger counter first, of course. That was $350, and it was $90 to register and get the wiring and the setup going.
The software.
And that's right, and the software. I don't want to forget the software, which is the most important part, by the way. But we think, the way we're looking at it, we think we can sell the whole package for like around $175, $180. So we're trying to keep our costs down, and we're doing the best we can. But there's no telling what this thing will end up doing in the long run.
Right, and in the light of ufology itself, we'd love to be able to give these things away. It would be awesome. Just give them away so that we could have thousands of devices out there, and we can all start collecting this data together and have it transparent. That's one of the key things that we want to make it obvious to folks as well, is that this data will be transparent.
And that is incredibly important, and that's something we don't see very often unless you've got an organization like NICAP who does put things out there. And I think it's vital for all of us who are researching this to know that this information is out there and we can all learn from it. I think that's commendable, and I am so excited about this. And I want to just say that, with both of you have such a kind heart and are doing this for the right reasons, and we have to, I mean, my gosh, you are dedicating your time and you're spending your money, and I really hope that people can donate because you need help, you need funding.
Yeah,
and
we just can't do it quick enough.
Yeah, that's just it. With it being a 2-man operation at this point, it has been a daunting task, and Fran may be able to give you an idea of exactly how long we've been working on it, but I have to be honest with you. I couldn't tell you, because it seems like some days I think it's Monday and it's Friday, because I've actually had the time to be able to dedicate that as well, because I've only had a part-time job. So that's kind of helped out a little bit too, and thanks to my wife, my lovely wife, who's has been helping during this downtime. But I do start a new job Monday. Just to throw that out there. Going to work for a company that works for the Department of Defense. So, yeah. Now, one thing we had a question real quick. Sorry, I don't mean to take over your guest questions from Facebook, but Irv, hey Irv, Irv Brock had a question. He wanted to know how many prototypes we actually have in the field. At this current time, we have 2 that are online. And for Rich Vitillo, I know you're waiting on yours, but I had a part that went bad, and it should be here tomorrow, and I'll get it. And you should have it Monday or Tuesday. But Fran's, yours will be delivered Saturday, tomorrow. So Erica already has hers. My prototype is sitting here, and it's online and working. So at this time, we will have 4 working prototypes online by, say, Tuesday of next week.
Yes, fantastic.
I know. Isn't this
Unbelievable.
incredible? I know. And we have a question from UFO author, and she just wanted to know if you can explain the legend and what is pancake node?
That would be for Fran.
Pancake mode. The only thing that brings to mind is on the Geiger counters. Some of them are different than a standard Geiger counter, and their readings are 3 times as high because they have more surface area. So when you look at a reading, it may say 60 on the screen, but it's a normal's 20 for us. That's the only thing that comes to my mind when you say pancake mode.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to just say, because we just have a few minutes left, but Challen and I have started we are joining together with a new organization called the IAUAPR. And we believe the executive director is Ted Rowe. And with this, we feel that we're really going to lead things in a positive forward direction. And we are going to we want it to help you, Fran, and we want to raise awareness and get funds for UFO data, for you, for all of these important people that are contributing to this. And I really fully believe that if we all work together, we can make profound changes. And I think the time is now.
I think it's perfect. The technology's here, and we're just taking advantage of it, and of course that's improving. Technology is getting better all the time. As Challen mentioned a while ago, you'll be able to look on your cell phone and check on your readings, just like someone checks on someone at home. It's an amazing world we're living in.
It is. It's so cool. And I want to just ask you, Fran, because you've been doing this for so long, if you had any wisdom to impart to somebody coming into this field, what would that be?
Well, you kind of caught me off guard there. The only thing I can say is, go with your gut feelings, but we would certainly be able to help them. I mean, if they wanted to know, what can I do? Let's put it that way. Let's say they're interested in the subject and they don't know what they can do about it. And we can take advantage of whatever expertise they have. And there's a lot of things a lot of people can do, and that's what we have going for us right now. And the ones, of course, can't do anything, they can support us other ways, so by donations. And we're going to make some big changes. We're going to illuminate the skies. Things that we can't see now, we're going to be able to see. Even though you may go out in the sky, or may go out in your yard and look up and not see anything in the sky, we're going to be detecting things that are probably there, and use whatever means we can to catch them, measure them if they are, So we've got a lot more going for us now than we've had before.
No more cloaking. You may cloak all you want. We will know you're there.
And I mean, do you think, Fran, I mean, there is absolutely no doubt in your mind that there is something intelligent here engaging with us, right?
Oh, I don't have any doubts about that. But don't ask me what they're doing, because I don't know.
Right. And we need to know. And that's the important thing. We need to work together and figure that out. And I definitely feel what you and Challen have done is going to help move us forward. And Challen, what are your thoughts about moving things forward and this important moment for both of you?
Well, I tell you, I can't express it enough. It's been an extremely tiresome road so far, and luckily for me, I guess I've got a little more time to put into it. But I anticipate this going a lot further than what me and him has ever expected. Just by the few people that I allow to see it, you included, but a few others that I've exclusively allowed just to see it. I think that this field has been waiting for a device like this. I think this field has been in a dire need of something like this, and once we get this out there, it's going to be used. It's going to be a tool that anybody and everybody can use, and we're all going to be using it together. And there won't be any of this hush hush. I don't want you to have it. Only you can have it. This, that, and other. No, everybody deserves to have this device. Everybody will have their chance to get this device. And like I said before, the data will be transparent, so it will be shared across the board.
And that is incredible. I'm so excited. We have a question from Twitter. Beth from Hawaii wants to just know if their technology is so much more advanced than ours, why do we think this technology will have any effect unless these beings want it to? Great question.
That's a great question because, like I said before, they seem like they're always one step ahead, but we just have to just have to do what we think we should do. We have to go with our gut feelings. They're not going to go away.
Well, that and, with our current device, the HRS-1 now, in its current setting, like you have in your home, it should do the job without having to worry about the additions that we're going to add in the future. But when we tie all three, say if we just tie in the other additional parts that we were talking about with the radiation detection, which, everyone knows that's been in this field long enough that there's usually a high amount of radiation around any UFO, and also barometric pressure changes and weather anomalies that are being affected while UFO is in range. Surely, with detecting all three of these aspects, we're going to be getting data that's going to be crucial. If they can somehow mask and/or thwart that effort of all three of those devices at the same time, then I guess we better start getting, a little more study. But at least at that point, we'll have some data to go by.
Some of these devices could also be placed in the vicinity of abductees or potential abductees or suspected abductees. I think CUFOS has tried that, but they didn't have anything as simple as this. But on the other end of the spectrum, Chalmers told me that geologists, people who are studying earthquakes, would just love to have these things, and they'd love to have the data, if nothing else, just have the data that we've got. So we really believe that the total package right now is blowing our minds, and we think it's going to be even better. And the more we think about it, the more ideas we can come up with.
Yeah, the beauty of this device, just to give you one example, Erica, and this is something that came to me when I was talking to Fran one day about some aspects of what we can do with the future of it. Say we have 2,000 of these devices across the world. They're going to be so sensitive that they can detect solar flares. We will see an anomaly in the electromagnetic field well enough to where we will be able to detect those solar flares, and we'll see that data in our database. Say if NASA comes to us and says, "Hey guys, can we see your data for this particular day because we had a solar flare? We want to know what the impact was." We'll have that data.
Right, and I've got to ask a really quick question before we close out because we've got 2 minutes to close. Will there be a way to see if it's the military or a true unknown?
That I don't really think that we would be able to determine without boots on the ground and people to be able to have that I guess that photographic and/or witness evidence.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I can say is the EM effect works like the inverse square of the distance. So whatever this is totally different than something that you would produce, say, from an aircraft, a covert aircraft. The intensity at the source would have to be so high that it would be very dangerous. So okay. I really don't think that's it.
Okay, well, I have to just say we've got to close, and thank you so much for being here. We're going to keep you updated, and we're going to bring both of you back very, very soon because we need to get you on here. Please go to NICAP.org and donate and send me a picture of you and your NICAP cap. And I just really appreciate it, both of you, very much. Thank you. I wish you the greatest success. I'm Erica Lukes. Yes, what a pleasure. This is UFO Classified. Next week, Jim Mars will be here. And then the following week, Dr. Richard Haynes and Robert Powell from MUFON's Scientific Review Board. So just keep in touch. Make sure you stick around for a great night. Joanna Roth is up next with Universal Child, and Tina Marie and Solaris Blue Raven. You all be safe over the Halloween weekend, and we will see you next week.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at UFOclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified. UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the digital